Good morning. The film I went ahead and chose to analyze was Good Will Hunting. There's a few reasons why. The most thinly veiled reasons that I chose to do it is that Ben Affleck, who is one of the co-writers and co-stars of the film, is my favorite on-screen Batman. So that's one of the smallest reason why I chose to go ahead and do this one. Another is that I do love film. I consider myself a bit of a film history buff, so this is one of the ones that I haven't watched yet. So I figured now's as good a time as any. So the brief synopsis summary of the story is of Will Hunting, played by Matt Damon. He's a man with a genius level intellect, but he chooses to work as a janitor at MIT. While he's on cleaning, one of the professors at the school left up a math problem that's supposedly impossible. But while he was cleaning, Will went ahead and actually just solved it for him. And so that catches the attention of the professor, of course. And over a little more time, Will's arrested for a fight, and also for assaulting a police officer in the fight because he was resisting arrest. While he is getting his sentencing, the professor actually shows up and convinces the judge to let him be released and promise that he works and studies math under him, and also that he goes to seek counseling and therapy. Um, so for the rest of the movie, the biggest plot is that Will starts to grow a friendship with and a relationship with his therapist, Dr. Sean McGuire, who is played by Robin Williams. And they both learn to grow as people and to kind of get underneath those issues that have been plaguing them. And they both learn how to release themselves from the traumatic experiences that have been holding them back throughout their lives. So the main ideas of the chosen perspective that I went ahead and used and had my mindset in with this film was the psychodynamic perspective. So some of the key points of it is it's concerned with how internal processes such as needs, drives, and emotions motivate human behavior. Unconscious as well as conscious mental activity serves as motivating forces in human behavior. Early childhood experiences are central in the patterning of an individual's emotions and therefore central to problems of living throughout life. And the big one that I can see very, very frequently throughout the film is individuals frequently use defense mechanisms to avoid becoming overwhelmed by stressors, which leads me into my next point um, of trying to analyze a scene with that psychodynamic perspective in mind. And this can be very, very, very easily seen in the scene where Will breaks up with Skylar. In the scene, he tries to sort of place his own ideas and expectations of what he believes Skylar thinks about him, places those onto her, and creates fear and anxiety over what she really thinks of him. Because early in the film, he does not tell her the truth about his life, does not tell him about the abuse that he suffered as a child. And he believes that she's this rich kid who is just slumming it, who's just trying to go out and, you know, have some fun with some guy. So he pawned his own fears onto her and able to protect himself from potentially getting hurt. Basically, he didn't give her the chance to break up with him, so that way he controlled the situation and he could just, cut it off and save himself the heartache of her leaving him, even though that was not her intent. So, um, going to applying this film, or applying the biopsychosocial perspective to the story of this film. In the biological sense, we can see that in stressful situations, Will would choose fighting in the sort of fight or flight response to things. When he was talking with Dr. McGuire about what his foster father would beat him with, he said that he chose the wrench because he wanted to make us, he didn't want to take the easy way out. He didn't want his foster father to think he was weak. He wanted to stand there and try to show him up, and by picking the wrench, which was the hardest of the three choices that he usually had. We can also see that in the fact that he just actually fought people, which is what kind of landed him in the whole situation to begin with, actually fighting the cop, resisting arrest instead of trying to flee or trying to de escalate himself. He just fought. In the psychological sense, we see defense mechanisms coming up frequently throughout the film. He sabotages relationships With Skyler, he also sabotages prospects of job opportunities, just to save himself the emotional pain of what if the relationship doesn't go well? What if the job doesn't go well? If he can just close it out, the opportunity, and sabotage the opportunity, he doesn't have to get hurt because no one has the chance to hurt him. And then socially, we can see throughout the film that Will tends to lean into his friends a lot. That's his social group that he relies on. Because his friends, like Chucky, played by Ben Affleck, are really the only people that were there consistently throughout his life. From the beginning through the present, they were always with him. So those are the people he chose to lean on and have support him, even though he could search for greater, he could become greater, he relied on his friends and he stuck with his friends. And that's my analysis of Good Will Hunting. Thank you very much.